I survived the darkest moments and lived to tell. Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. Mother to daughter, mother to grandchildren, mother to great-grandchildren. Well, son, I'll tell you. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, eyes have been climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, girl, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on those steps, because you find it kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I still going, honey. I still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Do you remember the time? You maybe do, you maybe don't. When you used to whip me all the time just because I would hang out with my cousins, because I didn't really have a lot of friends. And I was always getting a whipping for something. And sometimes I would always wonder, what did I do to keep getting whipped? And if it wasn't you whipping me, you would allow your sister to whip me. I've survived the darkest moments and lived to tell. You remember that time that you pushed me to the corner of a wall? I had to be about 6, 7, maybe 8 years old. And when you pushed me to the corner wall, I couldn't understand, why did you do this? What happened? I'm still to this day, 51 years old, trying to remember, what did I say to make you push me to the corner of the wall? And then we went to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, Morgan, what happened to your eye? What happened? And I said, oh, I don't know. And my mom said, you better not tell him what I did. You better tell him you can't see. And so I told the doctor I couldn't see. And the doctor looked at me, and the doctor looked at you. And I said, yes, I couldn't see. So from 8 years old till about 12, I was forced to wear glasses because I could not see. Why? I don't know. Only you can tell. I survived the darkest moments, and yet I lived to tell. I survived the darkest moments, and I lived to tell. Do you remember when you would always put him first before me and my sister? You will always fix his meals. You will always give him this. You will always give him that. When you guys had the most elegant of meals, you will always give her and I pork and beans and hot dogs, or maybe hamburgers. On a good day, you would give us fish and coleslaw. Yeah, we didn't like the coleslaw. I told you later on, we didn't like the coleslaw. And I'm wondering, like, why does she keep doing this to us? Why is it always about him and not about us? And I'm thinking, well, you know, I'm a child, so I have to stay in a child's place. Do you remember the times you used to tie me to the bed with socks on my hands and socks on my feet because my skin was so bad because I had eczema? And people would tell you, hey, you can give her this, you can put her this, you can give her oatmeal bath, you can give her this, you can give her that to make her skin feel better. And all the time, you wouldn't listen. I survived the darkest moments, and yet I lived to tell. And I'm wondering, like, what is wrong? Why it's always me? You remember when we would go to his side of the family house and they would always say, hey, let her go outside and play. Let her hang with the kids. And you would say, and he would say, no, she got to stay inside. And they would say, well, what's wrong? It's nice outside. Let her go outside. No, she had to stay in. Then fast forward, we would go come to Philly. Now we in Philly. We done left North Carolina. We in Philly. And I'm thinking things is going to get worse because now we in this big old beautiful city. Things is going to be better. And you're going to treat me better because I'm your firstborn. No, I survived the darkest moments. Still getting whipped. Still getting beat. I remember the times, even before we even moved to Philly, you always called your sister because he was always gone, and you always was mad, and you were always angry. I didn't know I was fighting your demons. And your anger, you took it out on me, seemed to be all the time. And you always call your sister, I need you to whip her for this. I need you to whip her for that. That's why when the times when I actually stole the candy money from you, and I tried to burn us up in the car with you, him, and me, because I said, well, you're trying to keep whipping me, and you're always whipping, and I don't know why you're whipping me. And I got all these scars and bruises on me. I'm getting whipped with switches. I'm getting whipped with extension cords. I'm getting whipped with broomsticks. I'm getting pushed into the corner of a wall. I'm going to give you something to whip me for. Because, yeah, I wasn't actually always a bad child, because as I got older, I asked you, was I a bad child? And you said, no, Morgan, you really wasn't. You actually was a good child. You actually You listen even when I would whip you. And I said, okay, I just want to make sure. So those times when I did do that, I did it on purpose because I said, well, if you're going to whip me, I might as well give you something to whip me for. I survived the darkest moments, but I lived to tell. Then we go into this big, beautiful city, and I'm thinking, okay, things are going to get better. Wrong I was. You meet this other man, and you have this child by this other man, and all of a sudden you keep saying, me and my sister was your punishments, and your sons were your blessings. And I'm like, what? Well, why would you say that? How are we your punishments? And then as I got older, and you always kept having that question of why you was given away, why was you not loved, why was you treated this way? And I kept saying, why are you worried about them? You have us, you have me, you have your daughter, you have your 3 sons, you had the 5 people that God gave you to love you. And all you kept worrying about is what those other people who did not love you, who did not want you, who showed you every way, which way they can. And then you told me, and I asked a question, and I kept asking questions, and I said, well, Mom, I got questions to ask. And you said, well, I'm going to do you like my mom did. And I kept saying, well, why would you do that? Now that I'm here and I'm asking the questions and I'm telling you different things about your family and you're learning different things about your father family, and you kept saying, I'm going to treat you the way my mom treated me. And now I see, I got it. I survived the darkest moments. And so I'm in this big old city and I'm thinking things is going to get better. No, things did not get better. Now I learn you are schizophrenic. You have bipolar. You have mental health issues. And so all those years, I was fighting your demons. Your demons was fighting my light. Your sister and your demons was fighting my light. I survived the darkest moments, but I lived to tell. Not understanding what mental health was, not understanding what schizophrenic was, not understanding what bipolar meant. All I knew was I kept being the brunt of your anger. I kept being the brunt of your hurt. I kept being the brunt of your pain, your disappointment, your sadness every time. So we're going to fast forward. I'm getting older and I'm still going through the stage of being whipped for something. Being the one having to take care of the sister, being the one having to take care of you, being the one having to take care of the brothers. And I'm going back and forth with these brothers and they're like, you not our mom. I'm like, dude, I didn't ask to be your mom. I was placed in this assignment. Again, not sad, not disappointed, not regretting not one bit of iota because I am my brothers and my sister keeper. So it didn't even matter about none of that. It's just kept wondering, I'm surviving these darkest moments. I survived to live and I live to tell. And I'm trying to figure out why am I fighting you all the time? And now I'm understanding as I'm learning and I'm growing, I'm fighting your demons. And I didn't understand why. And you kept saying, I'm going to treat you like my mom treated me. And you actually are doing that. And you're still doing it. But by the grace of God, so time's going by, time is flying on. And I remember this one time you had a big episode. And for whatever reason, I noticed every time you have an episode, that second man, he seemed to always disappear. He was always never around. And he left me as a child to take care of you as the adult, as my mom, while I'm fighting you with these demons, fighting you with your mental health, fighting you with all these voices in your mind, fighting you when you changed your personality. I'm calling everybody, calling your sisters, calling your brother, calling anybody, hey, can y'all help me? And they're like, no, girl, she your problem. I survived the darkest moments, but I lived to tell. I live to tell. So then there were times, so I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna get a little better. Maybe over time you done had this second child. I'm thinking, okay, your life should be better. Well, this particular moment, you had an episode, and you had this moment where you were throwing away everything in the home. And I kept saying, no, don't throw this away. And you kept saying, no, this is old. We got to throw it away. This is new. We're going to keep it. And I remember I was in home ec, and I made this beautiful blue dress with flowers on it. It had blue dress. It was a blue skirt. And it had white flowers, and it had blue and white lilies and all these on this dress. It was my best project ever. And so we would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and you would walk outside. And we were in this beautiful neighborhood on Loney Avenue on the boulevard. And we walked into this house that was empty. And I said, Mom, I don't think we should walk into this house. And you said, hey, this is our new home. Back there is our old home. And I said, Mom, I don't think we should walk in there. I survived the darkest moments, and I live to tell. And so I'm going in this house with you, and we walk into this house, and this is a house that this is somebody else's house. This house is being built for someone else. And we're walking in this house, and you kept saying, this is our new house. Right, Morgan? And I'm like, no. Right, Morgan? Yes, okay. Yes, it's the new house. It's the new house. So we're going to fast forward. We're going to rewind, go back to that blue skirt. Again, my best project in high school. Remember, so for those who went to school in Philly or go to school down south, maybe you go to school and you have home ec class, you have cooking class, you have any of those extracurricular classes that would give you extra credits. So go back to this skirt. So we go back to the house. You're throwing all these things away in your home in the dumpster. And I'm telling you, Mom, don't throw it away. It's not old. It's new. Yes, it is. It's old. It's new. It's old. We got to get rid of it. We got to get rid of it. And you grab my skirt. And I said, no, Mom, remember the skirt is for you. Remember the skirt is for you. And you said, what did I say? This is old. And I said, no, Mom, it's new. It's new. And all of a sudden, I remember you slam my head. Bang! On the floor. And I remember grabbing my head, crying, screaming, Mom, why? What did I do? What did I tell you? Didn't I say it was old? And I'm like, yeah, my head, stop crying. I'm fighting your demons. My light was fighting your demons. I survived the darkest moments, yet I lived to tell. And I'm on this floor crying and screaming, but inside I'm crying and screaming because you told me if I kept crying and screaming because you done slammed my head on this hard floor and my head is about to explode. And I'm thinking, okay, this gotta be the moment. I must gonna die. And I'm sitting there trying not to cry. And then you just grabbed me up and you said, let's go. We gotta go. We gotta get rid of more stuff. And I'm looking at my skirt that you threw in the dumpster. You didn't throw it in the trash. You threw it in the dumpster. And I'm thinking, everything I keep giving you, you're throwing away. And remember you asked me, you said, I remember you used to write poems. You used to write cards for everybody when it's a holiday, cards for everybody when it's Mother's Day, when it's Grandparents' Day, cards just because I loved you. Do you know why I stopped doing it? Because you stopped not wanting. You stopped showing me that you loved it. You stopped showing it that you actually missed it, that you actually admired me showing you my love. I didn't go to the CVS. I couldn't afford it. I didn't go to the Walmart. I couldn't afford it. I didn't go to the Rite Aid. I couldn't afford it. I made you cards because it was from my heart. And here I am, we're 51 years later, and you're still not understanding everything I do to you and do for you is because it's from my heart. But now I understand when you keep saying, I don't have mental health issues no more. Now I have depression and anxiety. I'm sorry, Mom, you don't. I survived to tell the story. I survived my darkest moments, but I lived to tell. And I'm wondering, like, why does she do this to me? She banged my head on this ground, but I still have to love her. So now I'm going through this mindset, this up and down roller coaster ride. Now we about to get on the bus, and you on the bus, and you're barking at people, and you're calling people dogs. And I remember we on this bus, we in the Northeast, and back then that's when the racism was sold up a little bit, and I didn't realize that's what racism was. And we were on the bus, and you kept calling this big old white guy with a bald head a dog, and I kept saying, don't listen to her. She crazy. She crazy. And the man looked like he was going to kill you and me, but only you. And I kept saying, Mom, come on, let's go, let's go. And we're on the bus and you barking at people. You calling everybody dog. And I'm like, oh, gosh, please don't let nobody whip her. Don't let nobody beat her up. Don't let nobody beat me up. And I'm pulling the cord like, hey, it's time to get off our stop. It's time to get off our stop. We're safe again. I survived the darkest moments, but I lived to tell. So now we're gonna fast forward. Come on, get your, now you going through some stuff because you thinking, okay, you done got with this new man. You keep having these episodes that you go in the hospital, you come back out, the man disappeared, the man come back, the man's telling me how much he want me, the man's telling me how much he's gonna do this. I'm coming back and I'm telling you what this man is saying, and he keeps saying, you saying it's okay, and I kept saying, no. Why would she say it's okay? But later on, now that God finally gave us the time to have our conversation, you did say it was okay, and I'm like, well, why would you do that? And you said, well, it happened to me, so why should I not let it happen to you? Again, I'm going to treat you like my mom did. And I said, well, did you tell anyone? Did you say anything to anyone? And you said, well, no, I didn't. I said, well, Mom, the difference between you and I was telling you, the man, the mailman, the postman, the aunts, the uncles, anybody who would listen to me, what was happening. Nobody still helped me. So I'm sorry that it did not help you, but you had the opportunity to help me and you chose not to. I survived the darkest moments, but I lived to tell. So here we go. We're going to fast forward. So now I end up, we're in junior high school. No, we're in high school and I'm outside with my friends. Now I'm outside. I'm thinking I'm a little older. I'm outside and the friends and one of them was my daughter's dad and We outside and I'm happy. I'm actually playing. You're not bothering me. You're not messing with me. And then all of a sudden you call me in the house and I'm like, okay, hey, what I gotta go? What did I do this time? And you said, no, you just gotta come in and eat. And I said, well, if I eat, can I go back outside to play? And you said, no. And I said, well, why? It's still daylight. I don't want to go back outside to play. And you said, what did I say? And I'm like, I don't understand. And next thing I know, I noticed I never got a chance to eat. But anyway, I digress. I'm fussing back and forth with you like, I don't understand why I can't go back outside. What did I do this time? I want to go back outside. And this 300-pound man said, I'm going to whip you. And I said, no, he's not my daddy. He can't whip me. And I run into my room and you chased me and you jumped on my chest and you knew I had asthma and you allowed this man to beat me with his belt buckle. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I'm fighting you off. I'm pushing you off. I'm running out the house and I said, I'm going to run away. I'm never coming back. And you chased me outside in front of all my friends, including my daughter's dad. And he said, and they're like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And you said, what did you say? And I said, I'm leaving this house and I'm never coming back. And next thing you know, pow, you punch me in my eye. I survived the darkest moments, but I live to tell. I'm fighting your demons while you're fighting yours too. So I'm like, oh my goodness, now I'm embarrassed. I'm outside and everybody I'm punching. This woman I'm punching my eye in front of my friends. And my daughter's dad walked up to me and he laughed. He said, oh shoot, Morgan, your mom just punching your eye. And I said, I know. And I'm over there crying. And at first he's laughing, then he's mad. He's like, yo, you want me to get her? And I said, no, she's my mom. Don't mess with her. He said, what happened? And I'm telling him what happened. He was like, man, I told you, I go get him and I go get her. And I said, no, man, that's my mom. I got to be here to take care of my sister and my brothers. You can't do this. This is before the last brother popped up. So I'm like, okay, I done survived this. So I had to take out my last end of year test and I'm going to school and I'm telling the teacher. And everybody in school like, yo, what happened to your eye? Who beat you up? And I'm like, nobody beat me up. And so I go to the teacher. The teacher said, what happened, Morgan? And I'm like, no. I ran to the wall. So I can't use that excuse that I used when I was younger when she actually pushed me to the wall. So then I said, okay, well, my mom punched me in my eye. He said, okay, we got to take you to the guidance counselor. And I said, no, don't take me to the guidance counselor. I go to guidance counselor and the counselor asked me. I said, no, I didn't tell him that. That's not the truth. And she said, no, what happened to your eyes? So I tell her, I said, but wait a minute, I got to go back to class because I got to take this test. And she said, don't worry about that test. And so I'm like, okay, I got to go back home, though. I got to go back home, but I got to take care of my sister. I got to take care of my brothers. Fast forward, I survived the darkest moments, but I lived to tell. So now I'm wondering, like, what's going on? Why is this happening to me? So I end up pregnant. Don't even know how it happened. All I know, I remember telling her I was pregnant. So she really didn't understand. She just looked at me. I kind of went through life, not really understanding what pregnancy was. Didn't have much guys. I would go to my appointments like I was supposed to. But here comes that day, April 23rd, 1991. So I'm like, oh, goodness, I'm about to have my baby. Not knowing that I was about to have my baby, I go to the bathroom, and I can't stop going to the bathroom. I'm outside playing jump rope, riding the bike. Yeah, I was a kid. I was 14 years old. 14 years old. I'm a kid. I'm not knowing you're not supposed to do none of this when you're pregnant because I didn't look like I was pregnant. And I'm outside, and I come say, oh, my God, I got to go to the bathroom. And I'm going to the bathroom, and I can't stop. So I tell my mom, I'm like, Mom, I'm going to the bathroom, and I can't stop. I'm thinking she done had 3 other kids. She know what it is. No, 4 other kids at the time. She know how to do. She said, okay, well, what you want me to do? Just call the nurse. So I called the nurse. The nurse said, you got to come inside. I said, I can't. I said, my mom said she got to go somewhere. I got to sit here and watch the kids. She said, what? Morgan, get your behind to this hospital. I said, no, I can't. I got to stay inside. I got to watch my sister and my brothers. So that entire night, I put on my sister's diaper. And I'm laying on the couch, still going to the bathroom, not realizing my water had broke. So the next morning, my Nurse Carol called, and she says, Morgan, why are you not at the hospital? My shift then came to an end. I'm thinking you came to this hospital. Now this is on April 24th, 1991 on Effing Boulevard. And so I'm like, oh, well, my mom went back out again. You know, she had to go to that program that she's a part of. And I got to stay here and watch my sister and my brother. She said, look, Morgan, I don't know what you need to do. I don't care what you need to do. I need you to do this. I need you to get to this hospital now. Because if you don't, you're going to have a dry birth. Do you know what that means? I said, no, what does that mean? She said, remember what happened to your first baby? I said, yes. She said, the same thing will happen to your second baby. I said, oh, well, I don't want that to happen. So I called my mom. I said, Mom, the nurse said I got to go to the hospital right now. She said, okay, well, what you telling me for? I said, well, are you going to come and take me? She said, no. I said, what about my sister and my brothers? Don't worry about it. I'll be at the house. I said, well, I can't stop going to the bathroom. Just put on one of your sister's diapers and go outside and go to the hospital. Get on the bus. I survived the darkest moments, but I lived to tell. So I'm walking down the street with my sister's diaper on. We're walking down Effing Boulevard, and I passed my kid's godmom, and she's out the window. She's like, hey, Morgan, where you going? I said, girl, I'm on my way to the hospital. I think I'm about to have the baby. Had the baby? Wait a minute. Where's your mom? Don't worry about it. I'll meet you at the hospital. I said, okay. I had my first child. My mother was not there. So, kid's godmom was there with me. Fast forward, I come home with this baby. She said, what's the baby name? And I give it to her. She said, oh, she ugly. She look like a iguana. Why'd you give her that name? And I said, Mom, why would you say that? This is your grandbaby. So time is fast forward, and I'm like, I can't wait to leave this house. I go back to school. Oh, wait a minute, rewind. When I got pregnant, I was forced to drop out of school. I didn't want to drop out of school because back then they had a school for girls who were pregnant and you could still go to school. But because my mom was like, no, you got to stay home and watch these kids. While I go live my life and I go do my thing, I'm going to make you drop out of school because you're pregnant because I don't want you to be in school. Again, I'm going to do to you what happened to me. I'm going to treat you like my mom did. I'm not finally getting this because I did not tell y'all, oh, rewind. She dropped out of school when she was pregnant with me. And she kept telling me if it wasn't for me, she would have went across the stage. She dropped out when it was right time for her to walk across the stage. And I was like, okay. So I go back to school. I go back to work. Every time I'm getting ready to ask her to watch her grandchild, she says, no, I don't feel like it. It's like 5-10 minutes before it's time to leave out the house. 15 minutes before it's time to leave out the house. I don't feel like watching. So now I got to find someone else to watch my child. Why I either go back to school? Why I either go back to work? So I'm wondering, why am I going through all this with my mom that I love? And I know she loves me. She got to love me. I'm going to treat you like my mom treated me. So obviously, maybe that's what she went through when she was growing up. I don't know. I just know she had a terrible childhood. I survived the darkest moments, but I lived to tell the story. So here we're going to fast forward. Now you're on this healing journey. You're on this learning journey. You're on this deliverance journey. You're trying to figure out what happened to your mom. Why is your mom going to take you? Why did your mom take you through this? And all you keep remembering, she kept saying, I'm going to treat you like your sister. I'm going to treat you like my mom treated me. You and your sister were my punishment. Your brothers were my blessings. And I'm like, Mom, why do you keep saying that? Because in her mind, she had her kids by the best man. Her sons by the best man. She had her daughters by the worst man. And my thing is, we're not the worst. We're the best because God gave you us as gifts. God gave you us as love for someone to love you. God gave you someone that will love you unconditionally. People don't understand what does unconditional love mean. But when you live on your mind and you got all these voices talking and you got mental health issues and you got demons fighting one demon and you got these thoughts fighting these thoughts, because remember he said the power of your life. The life of death is in the power of your words. Life of death is the power of your tongue. So man thinketh, so is he. And I remember growing up as I got older, she would always say, you're going to have a terrible childhood. Childbirth. And I could say, no, I'm not going to have a terrible childbirth. You're going to have a terrible this. You're going to have a child. She was always speaking word curses over me. And I could say, well, why do you want to speak these things, negative things on me? As my mom, you should always want it better for me. But if I haven't healed and she's not healed and I'm still going through my own roller coaster ride, I can't tell you how to do better when I'm not ready to do better. But now I see that you're doing better. Now you think you're better. And I'm like, no, I'm not better. You're my mom. How can I be better than you? You're the reason why I'm in this earth. You're the reason why I have my own generation. You're the reason why I survive the darkest moments to tell the story. I survived the darkest moments, but I live to tell the story. So you're wondering, well, how are you dealing with somebody with all this time with a mental health issue and you're still saying you love her? You're still saying you respect her. You're still saying you honor her because she's my mom. I've been holding back on this story, y'all, for the longest. I've been holding back on this journey for the longest. It's more things that I could tell y'all, but y'all just don't understand. If you decide you want to purchase the book, Endurance is Victory, everything is in there. Y'all don't understand what it is to live with somebody. Remember the movie Precious? That was the journey that I went through. When you're dealing with somebody who doesn't love themselves, who's hurt, who's broken, who's damaged, who felt unloved all their life, who felt unwanted all their life. They're still walking around wondering, asking the question, why was I given away? That's been Morgan Rees's journey. I survived the darkest moments, but I live to tell My assignment is I have to tell you how to give you your hope, how to give you your healing, how to help you heal. Because while you're healing, your girl Morgan Rees is healing at the same time. And I'm sitting, and everybody used to tell me, why? You still love your mom. You should have not been talking to your mom. But listen, this is fast forward. God get answered my prayer. Remember I told you when my daddy passed, I said, well, Lord, give me another chance with my mom. I want to get them questions answered. Because I remember asking her, why would she wouldn't tell me this and why would she not tell me this? She said, well, I'm going to treat you like my mom did. I'm going to wait till I get on my deathbed and I'm going to tell you everything I need you to know. And I said, why would you do that? And you can tell me now. He answered my prayer. He heard me. He saw my heart. He heard my heart. He gave me exactly 1 year, and I got a lot of questions answered. And in the process of me getting those questions answered, I said, well, the same healing you gave me, you need to give it to your own children, your other children, your boys. But when she all kept saying me and my sister was her punishment and my brothers were her blessings, now I understand why. Anybody that she saw that was flawed, she discarded us like trash. My sister had cerebral palsy. Unfortunately, we're not important. I had eczema. I was not important. My brother, he has mental health issues. We were not important. I remember when she sent my brother to me and had me, they convinced me to take my brother because I'm thinking like, wow, all of them couldn't help him because she has mental health issues. She had resources. Why she could not reconnect her resources to him to help him get the help that he need? And all she kept saying was, I don't want him to take my money. And I'm like, Ma, he's 30-something-year-old man at that time. How can he take your resources? Well, this is mine. This is mine. My thing is, but this is your child. Why would you not want to help your child? Because I'm seeing now, you're seeing all of us that are imperfect, but God said we're supposed to be imperfect. We are supposed to be flawed. We are his flawed and imperfect children because there's no such thing as a perfect person on earth. There's no such thing as anyone better than another. But because in your eyes, you still see yourself as an imperfect person. You still see yourself as a flawed person. Your flaws and your imperfectness and your mental health issues is still pushing away the ones that loved you the most, which is me. So guys, I did get my questions answered. I am grateful for the time that we had. For the first time in her life, she got a Mother's Day. For the first time in her life, she got a happy birthday. For the first time in her life, she got a happy time. But unfortunately, until she's ready to heal and get her deliverance, which it may not be in our time, it's going to always be in a guy's time. Only thing I can still do is still love her and still be there for her. Because I survived the darkest moments, but I lived, and I lived on purpose to tell. Endurance is victory. You guys have a great rest of your day. Please be safe. Please have a great rest of your weekend. Love somebody. Bless somebody because you are blessed to be alive. I know a lot of you men, a lot of you women have your own journeys of how your mom hurt you, because remember, your mom is your first love. Your mom is your first hurt. Your mom is your first best friend. Your mom is your first pain. But if you're still holding that from the things that your mom did, you got to let that go so you can heal. And the only way you do that is when you forgive. And I'm telling my mom again, Mom, I forgive you. It's time for you to forgive yourself. But while you're forgiving yourself, it's time for you to have those uncomfortable conversations with your other children. I thank you for the time that you've given me. I thank you for the life that you've given me. I am grateful. I survived the darkest moments, but I'm living, and I lived to tell. Be blessed.